Prepare yourself
for a talk radio experience
like no other.
Strap yourselves in and hold on.
He stands for truth. He stands for justice. He stands for what's right. This is the Alex Jones Show. Call Alex now, toll free, at 877-590-5525. Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
Very important radio transmission lined up for you today. We are live. It is Sunday, the 21st day of June 2009. Coming up in about an hour and a half, News Radio 590 KLBJ reporter is going to pop in for about 5 minutes, Sarah Hudeberg. I heard her going over the news just before we went live, and she was pointing out the fact that the state of Texas, the Cattlemen's Association, and others are saying, hey, we don't want this Clean Water Restoration Act. This will federalize all water, including rainwater, wells, aquifers. They are going to grab the entire supply, lakes, basically federal police everywhere. This is happening nationwide, and I covered this 2 weeks ago on the air, a week ago, and I get emails saying I'm a liar. But now here it is with state officials and cattlemen and other groups coming out. So she's got some of those clips. That is coming up in an hour and a half. She's going to pop in and visit with us. Former editor of the Wall Street Journal, former head of policy department of the Treasury under Ronald Reagan, Dr. Craig Roberts has done some great research on what's really happening in Iran. He's scheduled to be joining us later in this radio show as well. Okay, we have a very important show lined up. Outside of those important issues, I'm going to be breaking down what's really happening with North Korea, what's really happening with Iran. Why is this suddenly happening all over the globe? Why are police in Peru machine gunning hundreds of people? Why is it happening in Iran? Why suddenly is there war in Pakistan? Why suddenly is a U.S. ship in a standoff with an Iranian government-flagged vessel that they say has weapons on it? Why is North Korea saying they may go ahead and launch nuclear weapons? Why is this all just suddenly happening? We'll be breaking that down later in the show. But first off, in the stack of news in front of me, I have three stories. Some of these I covered this week. One of them is brand new today, exclusive to PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com. And you will hear about this later in mainstream media, but with their spin on it. We can really say you do hear a lot of it here first. We really do the great research, and our listeners send us the best tips. Those listeners found that bill to literally seize all the water supplies under federal control. And remember, the feds themselves are now controlled by offshore private banks. And a separate issue, since Monday, when they finally released the Federal Reserve Reform Bill, it is a total private Federal Reserve takeover of even the federal government. No Bill of Rights, no Constitution, dwarfs the Patriot Act, dwarfs Military Commissions Act, dwarfs even what Hitler and Stalin and Mao put on paper for their illegitimate powers. This is just, we are God, we own and rule everything from a restaurant, a hot dog shack, up to the car dealerships and the car manufacturers and the steel producers, everything, anything dealing with the economy. No judge, no jury, no due process, no nothing. We started beating the drum Monday, begging listeners to force this out in the mainstream news. It is now mainstream news. Because this wasn't even going to be discussed. There wasn't even going to be a debate about the end of the republic. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's actually all happening right now. As Lenin said, the evil genius that he was, there are times in history when more happens in a week or a month or a year than happened in the previous 100 years. Now, here's the first big top stories today. Remember, we broke the Homeland Security reports, the DHS report that made national news 3 months ago, saying all gun owners are the number one threat to the government, and that Homeland Security is set up to take on gun owners and veterans, libertarians, Ron Paul supporters, Bob Barr supporters, anyone who wants to control the borders. We broke that. People didn't believe it was real. Ron Paul's office found out it was real, said, yes, it's real. and it made national news, and the media spun it. And we broke the MIAC report out of Missouri, and we literally, I'd say, more than half the big news now that fights the New World Order is coming out of me, coming out of my small office, my ragtag team, and it really freaks me out. Because it's a dangerous position to be in, and I'm not even that good. And I can't believe I'm in this position. But I'll tell you why it is. It's just because I read the email from our listeners. It's you scouring the bills, the legislation. It's you and the state police. It's you and the FBI that send me these documents. It's the whistleblowers. It's the preachers that sent me the reports that they were secretly being trained by FEMA to tell their flocks to hand in their guns, to go to FEMA camps and take forced inoculations when the time came. I got made fun of, even though I gave you the secret documents. Now it's mainstream news. And I don't understand why we continue to break literally hundreds and hundreds of the major important stories. And now I'm being attacked by international media. I mean, we're here on the front lines getting battered to hell, ladies and gentlemen. And we know most of you are supporting us, but people need to take serious the time we've got left on air, the time we've got left with Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Do not take any of this for granted with the information I'm about to give you. A lot of people have died and been imprisoned and have been lost their jobs to bring you the information you're about to get. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? This isn't a game, ladies and gentlemen. People ask, how can I still be alive? How can I be on AM and FM stations across the country? Because the globalists don't have total control. They're able to steer society. They're able to twist society. They're able to dominate, but not fully micromanage and control yet. That's now happening. The Iron Curtain is lowering. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. And even if you don't believe me intellectually, in your gut you know things are bad. You know we predicted all of this with precision. Now, this broke earlier in the week. People didn't believe us, and then the ACLU came out, found out about it, and started suing a day later, and it's now been on CNN, but CNN acts like, well, I guess it's reasonable. See, they'll take incredible stuff we report and then make it like it's no big deal. Like, oh, yes, it is good to say veterans are the number one terror threat and Homeland Security's for them. And they have the head of Veterans Affairs come out and say, well, veterans are terrorists. And now they're having the VFWs go back and have to basically register and get ready to turn in even their Civil War cannons. I mean, this is all happening, folks. Listen to this. DOD training manual, not even classified, describes protest as terrorism. All protest is illegal and is an act of terrorism, protesting anything. A toxic waste dump in your neighborhood, illegal aliens being above the law, not being arrested by local police, but citizens have the book thrown at them. The war, attacks on the Second Amendment. Current Department of Defense anti-terrorism training course material states that the existence of First Amendment rights in the U.S. Constitution constitutes terrorist activity. The ACLU has written the DOD regarding its anti-terrorism and force protection annual rehearsal training course, which advises personnel that political protest amounts to low-level terrorism. And it goes on. I'm going to read that later. Now, this isn't the new story. I've been reporting this all week. Now confirmed to be real. God, look, we don't make any of this up. I know we break it. People can't believe we break all this. Because we know what news is, folks. We go through our tips. We go through the stuff that millions of listeners feed us. And people now know we're the place to send the documents. We're the place to send the leads. Most of it declassified. Just publicly training the military that there's no more First Amendment in America. Now, listen to this. I told you about this. This is in the Obama deception released 3 months ago. Done 4 months ago. This is in the Obama deception. I talk about this every week on the show. It is now in the New York Times, so now it's real, so now we can talk about it. This is the New York Times, Friday. Our story about it has a link to it. Proposed law allows AG, Attorney General Holder, to block gun sales to over 1 million Americans. The bill is no fly, no buy. No judge, no jury, 1,100,000 plus. Now it's 1,200,000. It grows by 25,000 every month. And then that's not even the big news. When I get back, I'm going to give you the big one. Stay with us.